I think we are an accident. It was just like a bunch of chemicals in the universe and like, bam.
What happens when a Christian, an agnostic, and a spiritual walk into a bar? It's no joke.
I think maybe I was trying to force myself to be the perfect religious person.
I just know what I believe. And I believe God created the world. Big Bang is not my portion.
It's the start of a real conversation.
I just don't want to get deep, but when you take it back to slavery, I'm sorry guys, I have to do it.
You know, I know you're deconstructing and you're confused. What's made you...
She's not confused.
3 ways of seeing the world, 1 bar, and all the questions that connect us.
I'm Theo Johnson, and here's who is in my bar today. All right, so let's get to know each other's beliefs a little bit more. Isabelle, you're a spiritualist. What does that mean?
Spiritualism means to me a higher power that guides us, holds us. That's not necessarily a white man in the sky, but maybe it's the universe.
Arnold, you're a Christian. Tell us what that means to you.
To me, it means knowing God and who God is to me, and just understanding that nothing is by chance and everything is due to something bigger than ourselves.
And Leanne?
I was a Christian. I've gone down a path of like deconstructing. So now I'm kind of just confused, but I'm happy to be confused.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answers and I'm not going to claim to have them.
All right, so today we're going to talk about purpose. And I want to know, what is purpose to you?
Purpose to me, I believe in purpose so much. I got it right here. I love purpose. I feel like every man needs purpose.
What
It's
made
like,
you tattoo that on your skin?
Purpose has always been something that I've lived by. As I was saying, like every man needs purpose. Like even if it's, I don't know, your missus tells you you got to put up a cabinet and you know that tomorrow you're going B&Q to buy some tools and you're gonna, you know what I mean? It just makes you feel like you belong. It makes you feel worth something. There's been times when I haven't had purpose and I've just felt deflated. Felt like life wasn't worth living. I felt like I didn't have anything going for me. The minute, I don't know, I get a call saying something's happening, it's like pep my steps. I just feel like purpose is so important to me. Something that I live by, something that I really follow, and I really wanted to tell a story. All my tats are like a story, so purpose, abundance, all that stuff. So I really wanted to start off my journey with purpose, and then it kind of works its way up to everything else on my journey.
To me, purpose is ever-changing, ever-growing, as we are always ever-growing. There's a sentence in the last season of The White Lotus where she says, "My life has no meaning, but time has given it meaning." So essentially, I think we're all just seeking our purpose day by day, hour, and like figuring it out as we go along.
What about you, Leanne?
I don't know my stance on purpose. I don't know if there necessarily is a purpose. Like, I think people having purpose gives them a meaning of life, which makes it easier to live, if that makes sense. But I don't know if there necessarily is that. Like, sometimes we're just here. Like, think about like a lion, for example. Like, what's its purpose? I know obviously we're not a lion, we're humans. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, what's a lion's purpose?
A lion's purpose is to protect the jungle.
No,
and the
but I'm
people
talking
around
about
it.
one specific lion. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just one lion.
It's to be the king and protect the herd.
But not all lions can be the king.
That's because one lion has that purpose and the other's purpose is to follow the king. There's always going to be purpose, regardless of how you look at it. I feel like there's always purpose.
I guess, but it doesn't always have to be this big thing. Like, I think sometimes purpose can be to you're just here.
Do you feel like purpose and goals are the same thing?
I think it's been painted to be this huge thing, like, oh my gosh, it's this huge meaning thing. A goal can be like, oh, I've got to pick up milk tomorrow. Like, it doesn't have to be something huge.
Yeah.
Whereas purpose, I feel like kind of is linked to your life aspects and aspirations, and it's like bigger than a goal.
I think you're right. Like, obviously, everything's perception versus perception, you know what I mean? And I feel like, yeah, purpose doesn't have to be this big thing. Your purpose could be small, it could be big, but regardless, there's going to be purpose. So even if your purpose is just to exist, do you know what I mean? That's still a purpose. Even if your purpose is to, I don't know, like you said, go and get milk tomorrow. It's you're looking for, it's something to look forward to. Whereas I think, God forbid, like, you know, someone goes to prison, for example, they haven't got the purpose, because in there, they have the same routine. That's why people become institutionalized.
Do you feel like purpose originates from a higher power?
I think we are an accident. Like, I think the Big Bang was an accident. It was just like a bunch of chemicals in the universe and like, bam, like we're here at this bar, shopping at Boohoo. doing our Tesco shop.
Other brands are available.
Sorry. That's funny.
But I think it is, purpose is always ever changing. And I think we're always in conversation with destiny, and that in itself changes our purpose. So nothing's fixed. Our identity, culture, gender, I don't think any of those are fixed. Purpose, honestly, I think the meaning of life is to give it purpose.
That thought process of the Big Bang being an accident. Who do you think made the accident?
Made the accident or made the world.
Whatever you want to call it.
You know what it is. Obviously, I believe in God, but I'm very open-minded. I can relate to both of what you said. You know what I mean? There's still questions that I have no answers to, and I feel like, well, someone that overthinks, I'm not gonna try to figure out, because I'll be going crazy. Whatever the accident was, however it was created, I was chosen to be in the world. Let me just continue to make the moves I'm making within the world, because on paper, what I'm doing in this world, I shouldn't be doing. So I'm just kind of happy to be existing and being able to do what I'm doing.
Do you believe in the Big Bang?
I don't believe in Big... Again, obviously, the Big Bang, I thought it was a show, Big Bang Theory. I don't... Like I said, I'm not someone that actively goes to look for certain answers. I'm just kind of content with where I'm at and how I'm finessing where I'm at.
To interject, like, why does that always need to be an answer?
There you
Can
go.
it just be a question?
So normally Christians believe that God made the world.
Yeah.
So in theory, then he would believe that God made the Big Bang happen.
God obviously created the world, right?
Okay.
I don't believe in the Big Bang. I don't sit there and sit. I haven't done enough research on the Big Bang.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Speak your truth.
No, it's not my truth. That's because I haven't thought about it to sit down and say, oh, the Big Bang's not real. I just know what I believe. Yeah. And I believe God created the world. Big Bang is not my portion. And I'm not over there, so I don't...
Yeah.
You get, I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't even get what I'm
It's
trying to
cool,
say.
I get you. Leanne,
Yeah.
Clutching at religion.
do you think purpose is predestined?
I personally think we create our own purpose. And I think religion actually plays into purpose. If you look at like atheist countries, most of them are like, for example, Scandinavian countries. They're the countries that like are the most successful or like happiest, doing the best. And when you look at levels of the highest amounts of religiousness, it's where there is like less opportunities, less education. That's not to say that if you're religious, you're less educated. It's just saying that there's kind of less hope. And so they kind of use religion as a means of giving themselves purpose. And so I think that's what it is, that you just create your own purpose. Like, you just hear, you figure out what you like, what you don't, and then you just use whatever means to get through.
Can I interject on that, yeah?
Yes.
If you, for example, you see the purpose, it comes from somewhere, no? Do you feel like, because you can't just wake up and say, I want to be a bank robber.
Of course you can.
You can, but how are you going to do it? Something has to be in you for you to go forth.
Oh,
and
like
actually,
innate, like a desire to
yeah,
want
there has
to
to
do
be
that.
some sort of something in burning desire in you to want to do it. Because you want just, like, we can right now, all four of us say, let's go rob a bank. I guarantee we're going to fail because we've never robbed a bank
You
before.
never know that.
What are your thoughts on it, Isabelle?
I don't think it's predestined. I believe in destiny, but I think destiny is ever changing. I think you're in conversation with your own destiny. I believe in karma. Okay. Like, what goes around comes around. If anything, I'm more of a proponent around karma than destiny, because I just believe in being a good person.
If all of this was an accident, like, for example, why does karma exist then? Because karma clearly is a deeper thing, if that makes sense. Because if I slap him, God forbid, and then I go outside and someone slaps me, that didn't, there's no, it's not the Truman Show, like no one's watching and control. You know what I mean? It's like something, if that karma exists, it has to be something deeper than just an accident.
I'm still working it out.
That's fair enough.
And I think you can believe in accidents and also believe in karma. Okay. So I do, in my line of thought anyway, believe that there are two different things.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, as humans, we're constantly searching for meaning?
Yes. And it's understandable. I think life is very hard. And I think having, like, there being a meaning to all of this makes it, like, a little bit easier. I've also been, not a victim to this, but, like, you know, when you're like, oh, it's a sign, and it definitely wasn't a sign, but you just want to make it seem or fit. So, yeah.
How do you know it definitely wasn't a sign?
It wasn't.
But she broke my heart. I'm joking.
It wasn't. It was just something that I was hoping was a sign, and then looking back, I'm like, it's clearly not a sign. I think when we're doing something, we want it to have a meaning naturally. Like, we don't want to do something for no reason.
Yeah.
And so I think, the same applies to life.
Yeah, but I agree with that, but I think that's, again, back to purpose. I feel like the meaning, it's like if you're looking for meaning, you're looking for purpose. I feel like no matter what you say, you can't run from purpose. Purpose is always going to exist because of the fact that without purpose, you have no meaning.
People's purpose drives them to do right or wrong. Do you feel like right or wrong is natural or learned?
Like, oh God, we could be here forever. Like, I think like right and wrong is a matter of circumstance and perspective. And honestly, like, I do believe it is more of a gray area than we think things to be. I think we put too much stock in answers and binaries when largely life and life's big answers doesn't come in a binary.
I would say, yeah, there is right and wrong. And I feel like, going to the question, a lot of the times, wrong can be learned because someone could, see, I don't know, their parents fighting every day and see how maybe their dad treats their mum or their mum treats their dad or whatever. And that's something they pick up, which is why they can unlearn it by maybe going to therapy or maybe going to church or maybe going to pray, whatever it is that they do to find that kind of like meaning of change. You know what I mean? So I feel like right and wrong does exist because you can do wrong and you can do right. And someone that does wrong can do right. Someone that does right can do wrong. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like it's just like a circumstantial thing, but I don't feel like it doesn't completely exist because it does. It does exist. Like if I do something, it's like if I do something wrong now, I'll get in trouble for it. Like if I just started smashing glasses everywhere, you can't be like, oh yeah, but someone else can say that's right, but that's wrong, fully. Everyone can identify the difference between what I've just done.
I think if you like just went and smashed all these glasses, depends on the circumstance in which you did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but in this circumstance though.
So inherently, yes.
Yeah, you see? But what circumstance could it be right unless you're at bar mitzvah and you're smashing plates?
Yeah, bar mitzvahs, weddings. If you're in Greece, they smash plates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I'm talking more in the sense of
right or wrong morally.
Right or wrong morally, directly being able to identify it. Like if you were sat here with your kids, for example, and you just see me smashing glass, your kids will be scared. You will be scared. You'll be like, what's going on? It's wrong. You know what I mean? If you call the police, but I'll be arrested because I'm
public disorder.
You know. Yeah, so it's like we know what right and wrong is, and I feel like what you're saying is true because depending on the circumstance, but that's a cop-out in my opinion because we can't say, in a wedding or a bar mitzvah in Greece because, of course, that wouldn't be a right or wrong situation. But in this particular situation, I feel like it would be wrong, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think that concept of right or wrong has been handed to you by Christianity, or is that something you inherently believe in?
I'm a Christian, but I'm open-minded. I'm not someone that's like super religious and focused on just da-da-da-da-da. But I wouldn't say, because I'm a Christian, right and wrong was handed to me because an atheist knows what right and wrong is. A child, when they steal a cookie and you say, where's the cookie? They know that was wrong. Do you know what I mean? Before they even become socially aware to become a Christian, they would hide the cookie under the chair and they're like, I didn't take the cookie. They've learned to lie. They've learned to do all these things. And I feel like that's because of things that they've seen and learned, if that makes sense. And as a parent, you teach them and say, next time you take the cookie, that's wrong. So I feel like, I don't think it's necessarily to do with being a Christian.
So opening it out to everybody, I feel like religious texts have developed how we live to a degree in today's society. So would you say that they're outdated now?
I was a Christian, and then I went on a journey of deconstructing. I still very much align with a lot of Christian values, but there are some things that I don't agree with. And one example is that there's only one way to heaven. Do you believe that as a Christian? Because that's your beliefs, right? There's only one way to heaven. Because this is the thing. If you're speaking from a Christian perspective, you would think that being a different religion is wrong, technically. And I didn't agree with that. And so I think right or wrong, definitely comes down to perspective.
Do you feel like you can be a Christian and not be religious? Do you feel like you have to be a Christian, believe in God and be super religious to the point where...
Not super religious, but I think if you're going to call yourself a Christian, you should be practicing Or that's not just even Christian, that's for any religion. Like, if you're going to call yourself that, you should be
Do you feel
practicing.
like that's fair to say because no one is perfect? I feel like
No.
you saying if you're a Christian, you should be practicing is unfair because
No.
everyone's imperfect.
I didn't say you have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be practicing, which just means you have to just be trying. Of course, you're not going to be perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can be born a Christian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
born a Christian.
You're born a Christian.
Yeah.
What, you know, I know you're deconstructing and you're confused. What's made you...
She's not confused.
No, I'm going off her words. I'm not saying she is confused. What made you
am
come
confused.
off that journey and be happy with being confused?
Just because so there's just certain things that I don't agree with. Like, I still align with a lot of the things. I think naturally when I've born into it, it's part of me at this point. But certain things like there's only one way to heaven, for example. If there is a heaven, I don't even know at this point. I'm just here. But if there is a heaven, there's only one way to heaven, which I think is like, think about it like it's through belief. Like, if you're not a believer, but you're still an amazing person, technically through the values, you won't make it to heaven.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What rubs you the wrong way about that?
When you look at trends globally, where you are on the globe basically determines your religion a lot of the time. Obviously, not all of the time. But if, for example, I was in Saudi Arabia, it's very likely that I would be like a Muslim. Or if I was in, for example, India, it's likely I'd be Hindu. So it's like, I find it kind of unfair to say that like there's only one way to heaven. Your beliefs are kind of not a trend, but it can be predicted by where you are in the world.
And it could also be like given to you upon birth, like
Right.
blind religion.
Exactly.
And also religion, it can be circumstantial. Because
Exactly.
I was born a Catholic.
Right.
I didn't choose to be Catholic. My parents just took me to church every Sunday. And my grandma
Right.
was like, let's do the rosary.
Right.
It was not my choice.
Thinking about the societal norms of today and how we all live, do you feel like the Bible's still relevant?
I don't necessarily think it's out of date. I just do think it should be questioned and challenged. And I don't think a religion should be handed to someone. I think it should be one's choice to have faith in a religion or a belief system.
If someone's kind, do you feel like that's from purpose?
Sometimes you can just be a good person and do kind things.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, but so I say that from my perspective, but then I grew up Catholic. So who's to say that those Catholic values
Didn't
weren't...
influence you.
Exactly.
In terms of Christianity, do you feel like if someone's a Christian, they're always kind?
No, of course not.
Why?
Get my notepad out. When I'm joking. Nah.
Do you have any examples of them not being kind?
Not kind Catholics, not off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are a few.
Like, we're humans, innit? And like I said, people have stories about church hurt and all
Yeah.
these things. And one thing I've always learnt, is churches are for people that are looking for God. Same way you don't go to a hospital if you're healed. You don't come in and be like, hey, I got a good leg and a good back. Doctor, that it doesn't make sense. You go there if your legs hurt and your back. So you go to church because you're flawed. That's why I say I don't like the aspect of being religious and making it religious, because what people do is they kind of put you in a box, like, oh, because you're a Christian or because you're Muslim, you have to be like this. But the reality is you're a human. The pastors are human. The people serving in the church are human. The ushers are human. You know what I mean? Everyone is human. So I don't feel like kindness and Christianity go hand in hand, because some people are just bad people.
Yeah.
That's the reality, and I don't think it's anything to do with purpose. Some people are good because they've seen good. Some people are good because they've seen bad, and they want to be different to what they've seen. Some people are just bad because they've seen bad, and some people are bad because they've seen so much good happen, nothing comes in return, and like, you know what? I'm going to be a bad person. I don't think that's anything to do with purpose. That's just you in your heart. That's why people say money changes people. It's like, money don't change you, just become who you really are, because you have the freedom to now be your true self.
Do you think that idea of good and bad is fixed? Because people can always grow and change. And from your initial point, some people don't go to church because they want to be healed. Some people go because their families go.
Yep, of course. But I feel like my thing is never about going, it's about staying. Because you don't have to, unless you've got a
Then
strict
there's a
family.
distinction.
Yeah, unless you've got a strict family who says you have to be in church and you're just there to tick a box, that's different. But as you get older, your family start to kind of let you kind of do your own thing. I'm sure that's how you kind of stopped going, and I'm sure that's how you stopped going. I'm sure your family might have something to say about it, but they can't really tell you much because you're a grown women. So I feel like, if you decide to stay, everyone has a choice, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You can get up and say, you know what, this ain't for me, I'm going to leave. Or you can sit down and keep going every Sunday.
Do you think the human view of God has evolved?
It's a tricky question. I feel like, yeah, every day people are evolving, right? So I feel like people, like with Christianity, I always say it's one of the only religions where interpretation is like the main thing. People just be interpreting everything, kind of thing, the way they want to interpret it, you know? No, genuinely.
Interpret.
It's like, for example, there's a thing that Christians love to say, yeah, which is, the Bible says, come as you are. The Bible does not say that. There is no verse that says that, bro.
Oh.
No, but it's interpretation. It's just picked it out because you want to go to church hangover, and you say, "Oh, but I'm not drunk because the Bible's." No, that's not. It's like people are trying to evolve God to become to suit what they're doing or what their world feels like, which I think is wrong because God is God. God is the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow, right? It's not today because you decided to be drinking, and then you're different tomorrow. Now you decided to be on point, and I mean, I just feel like. So I wouldn't say it's evolving. I just feel like people are starting to interpret God. And then it's making things become messy. And
Question. So if you think the concept of God is fixed, then you don't think people can be saved and grow because there's a fixed point of right and wrong. It's never changing and always present in its fixed state.
So when you say people can be saved, do you mean saved through Christ or saved just as in from being a bad person to a good person? Or
well, as you said, through Christ.
If someone is, I don't know, going through real life problems and they're doing bad stuff and they walk into a church and you see it happen, they feel compelled and convicted to give their life to Christ and that then changes them from whatever they were doing before, then yes, they've been saved through Christ. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people then doing that same person coming into the building and being like, yeah, I'm not ready to stop what I'm doing. So I'm going to find a verse that suits my narrative. I'm going to use that for my argument. I think that's wrong. So I feel like that's what a lot of people do. They try to interpret God to
pick and choose
to suit their own narratives and, you know, justify the wrongs that they're doing. And I say that's, to me personally, I think that's wrong because, like I said, God is the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow. You can't change who God is. You can only change yourself.
Then, so to be a good Christian or religious person, then, does that mean you have to abide by the rules, the 10 Commandments, and also this Bible, which is in fact a text in which to say how to be a good person, how to not be a good person.
I think the Bible.
And do you abide by that as a Christian?
I wouldn't say the Bible's a good and bad book. I think the Bible is a way of life, and you read it you take certain the stories from there, you take the parables and all these things from there, and you incorporate it into your own life. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's I'm going to do good and bad. It's not that simple because things have changed. Do you know what I mean? I've got tats, I'm sure.
But then you said that God is always fixed.
I'm saying God, not the things that's in the Bible. I'm saying God is God. Nothing else changes apart from that. Even the word, yeah, cool, there's interpretations, but like I said, but the word is still the same. The book is still the same book. I haven't seen the book change.
The book did change from Old Testament to New Testament.
Yeah, and also it's been rewritten and stuff. Anyway, ignore me, sorry.
No.
That was my intrusive thoughts. It's been proven, or there's evidence that it has been rewritten. It's been translated to many languages, and also I just don't want to get deep. But when you take it back to slavery, I'm sorry, guys, I have to do it. There was a slave Bible which
used to oppress.
Yeah, was used to oppress basically. So I'm basically just saying that to say that it has been rewritten multiple times. While I do think the Bible is actually very relevant, when you actually read it, there's a lot of valuable information.
Let's take away the Bible. Do you feel like the view of God has evolved?
Yeah, I think so.
In what way?
I think a lot of people, like you said, are picking and choosing. And I think a lot of people are stepping away from religion as a whole and seeing God as not the creator, but more of they have more of a personal relationship with God rather than a rigid one, which is what religion is. I think a lot of people are turning to spirituality and just having their own individual relationships and not necessarily following all of the rules and just,
Why do you say if it's religious, it's rigid?
It literally is. It tells you what you can do, what you can't do.
That makes it rigid?
Yeah. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's very easy if you like that. If you want to, you do this, don't do this. But I think where life is very here, there and everywhere, it's kind of hard.
Just to even add to what you said about the Bible being changed. If you're talking about the slave, the Bible. All they did was took out pages and
What do you mean
edited
all
it
they
for the
did?
slaves.
But why do you
They didn't change and make a whole new Bible. It's just,
Right.
they just had to find a way to
They
manipulate the
edited it.
slaves. Yeah, so they basically edited the Bible.
Right.
That doesn't mean the Bible changed.
So they use religion
They
to
changed the Bible.
manipulate either way.
Yeah, but yes, because they did it. It doesn't mean religion. That's not because of religion or the Bible. It's because what they did as people.
Right.
That's nothing to do with religion.
It's been like translated, it's been, you know, all of that stuff.
No, I'm not even, okay, I'm not challenging you. I'm saying that you know this how? Is it because you've heard it or have you looked up and seen that
Can
it's
you
been
read
changed?
Hebrew? Because that's the
No, I'm just asking.
original version.
No,
that was in.
I'm genuinely asking. I'm just asking because...
No, I'm joking. No, because you can read it in English. It's literally been translated like to multiple languages. When you have these different versions, they do say different things. Although they translate roughly to the same thing, it's easy
Things can get lost in translation.
in translation. That's what I'm trying to say.
The Bible debates you can go on forever because it's when people
Yeah,
say,
we
I'm like,
can,
people just heard stuff and then they say, yeah, it's been changed. But if you look at the differences...
But it's not just her stuff, it's true.
Guys, I want to know, is love innate in all of us?
Yeah, go on.
You think so?
Yeah, no, I actually do believe love is innate. Because, well, you don't.
No.
Why do you believe that, though?
I don't know, maybe that's like the Reformed Catholic in me.
So you feel like if you take away the religion, you won't believe that love is innate in all of us?
Honestly, like, I mean, I think you have to believe in love. Otherwise, like, I think love gives people meaning.
Or purpose?
And it also leaves you heartbroken.
What about you, Arnold?
I feel like love is a feeling that grows within you. Like, I'm sure when you look at your child, you build, like, you have a love for something you didn't even know you could love. If you meet a partner, you know, like, that's what I say. I just find the concept of love so fascinating because, like, I could be chatting to you today, I've not met you until today, and then we fall in love, and now... I'm joking now, I'm just saying, like, we end up falling in love, and now we're in love with each other. We just met in this place. I just find it so... But I just think it's something that builds from something.
So do you believe that all humans have that innate love in them?
And they just maybe haven't come across something that's brought it out of them. So love is just fascinating to me. Like I said, I find love so fascinating how you can go from not loving something to tomorrow you seeing something and loving it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know, something has to bring it out of you.
Love is also a choice.
Yeah, because you have to choose to love.
I think love is definitely an innate thing. Even like from studying psychology, a lot of the people who are like the worst people in the world, a lot of the time when you look into their childhoods or whatever, it's because they didn't receive love. So I think naturally as humans, we have the desire to connect, we have the desire for community and the desire to be loved. And I think, yeah, when we don't receive love, I think, especially as like children and when developing, is problematic.
You said you're confused and you don't know.
Right.
In your confusion and not knowingness, how do you cope with that?
I'm happy here, to be honest. I think if anything, I think maybe I was trying to force myself to be the perfect, like, religious person. And I think that actually caused me more anxiety and stress because anytime I had a question or anytime I had some sort of like thought outside of these religious beliefs, I was like, felt guilty or I felt like anxious. But now I'm just leaning to the fact that, okay, cool, I've deconstructed, I'm on my own path. I allow myself to have these questions and these debates, which I usually wouldn't, by the way. And I don't feel guilty about it. I just feel like this is just part of me, like, understanding myself more.
I think you're a human that's trying to figure out the next step. As you said, you still have Christian morals and values that you live by.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's you being confused or saying, oh, Christianity is not what it is. I just think it's you being a human being. That's why I say there's a difference between being knowing God and being religious. When you focus on the religion aspect, you be someone that ticks boxes. You go to church on a Sunday. You read your Bible and get your phone and you film yourself reading your Bible, put some gospel in the background, Spirit lead me, and you're like doing your devotional. Then as soon as that phone goes down, you're back to being a normal person. A lot of people are religious, but they don't have God. Whereas I feel like that's disrespectful to the Christianity, to your Vic. So I feel like you're just a human being who's continually growing and understanding who you're becoming and centering God. If you center God and you keep going, I don't think you're confused. I don't think it's a case of you being confused or whatever.
So Arnold, when you don't know and you don't have the answers, where do you put your faith?
In this money. I'm joking. I'll put this faith in this money, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because this money always gonna get me out. Now I'm joking. You know. I'm playing. Now I'm joking. Now you know what it is. The reality is, I put my faith in God. I feel like for example, there's this TikTok trend of decentering women. But I feel like we don't need to decenter each other. We just need to put God in the center. That's it. Put God in the center, everything else follows. Do you know what I'm saying? when I'm lost, I speak to God, and it's not always praying and God. Sometimes I just talk to God like that's my pops. I argue with God, I debate with God, I ask God questions. I'm like, God, like if this, because I feel like if I don't do that, I'm always gonna try and figure out the answer, and I'm never gonna get the answer, because the only time we're gonna get the answer is when we die. That is it. And when we do die, we're not gonna be able to come back and tell anyone the answer because we're already gone.
How do you cope with not having the answer?
I just trust in God. I just trust that, like I said, what I'm doing in this life of mine, on paper, I'm not supposed to be doing it. Do you know what I mean? So I believe that I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to continue to live the life that I'm living here and continue to follow my purpose and continue to keep going and allowing God to lead me. Because I put my trust in God, I put good energy out there, I follow my purpose, and I put God at the center. And everything else is working. I'm not sounding cliche because things do go wrong, but that's just me.
What if you don't believe in God?
So what's your thoughts?
I let a higher power lead, and I believe that I'm always in constant conversation with that higher power. Call it faith, call it destiny, call it whatever. But I think it's ever changing, ever growing. I think nothing's at a fixed point.
What's this higher power you speak of?
I think it's just an energy. It's just like a vibe, a feeling.
But if it was an accident, I'm asking to understand, not to debate. If it's an accident, yeah, how could they be a higher power? Because
I don't think the two are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I also don't.
Yeah, I don't think how they can relate.
What's the difference between a higher power and God?
I think God, we've attached a construct to them, whatever they may be, according to religion. A higher power is just a higher power.
Right.
Like, it could be...
So you want to believe in a God without the rules?
I believe there is a divine force present. If you believe there is God, then fine. Like, I'm not here to attack anyone's faith or belief system. But for me, I think it is just like an energy.
Where do you put your faith when science or religion don't have the answers for it?
I just hope for the best.
From what you guys have said to me, I feel like you like put your faith in yourself.
Oh
when you
yeah,
don't have the answers.
that too. But then even then, sometimes no. Sometimes I don't really be believing in myself like that.
So maybe there's someone you go to.
I think since I've like deconstructed and I don't really like spend as much time like praying or whatever, I've kind of just leaned into my community, I guess. So like my friends and the people around me.
Are the people you lean into people you'd want to be like?
That is actually a really good question. Would I want to be like them?
So basically, if she's coming to you, she don't rate you.
The only reason I'm hesitating is because I think everyone's different. Like, it's not anything bad on them. I think everyone's unique in themselves. So to say I want to be like them is like a bit out there, because I want to be me, but I want to be the best version of me. Yeah. And if I'm able to get advice from them or whatever that does that, then so be it.
Wouldn't you argue the Bible's trying to make you be the best version of you?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't argue that.
But why do you still live
But
by
I wouldn't
the Christian...
argue against it. Basically, long story short, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. That's it. And I'm just trying to live a life where I'm not consumed or riddled by guilt every single time I think of something or do something that doesn't align.
Can I ask you a question, yeah?
Yes.
Why do you still follow certain parts of the Bible, like you said, or certain parts of the Christianity, if you point blank answer these questions saying, no, you don't believe the Bible's trying to help you best version of yourself? Like, what is it that's keeping that?
It's not that I don't, but it's not that I do. I think I've said that I think that there are some things in there that are really beneficial to everyone, whether you're religious or not. Like, even simple things like
loving
don't
your
kill.
mum.
Yeah, like, that's not a bad thing. I think everyone can do that.
Do you believe the new findings in science have like led people to not believe in God?
What I've always believed in is nature. I've always believed in the environment. I've always felt that it's held us, provided and nourished for us at every given moment from the start of creation and hopefully, you know, till the end if we don't fuck it up. I'm a spiritualist. Fundamentally, I do believe that I am an animist, because what are we without the earth that we live in?
What is an animist?
How I understand it anyway, is a belief system that means that nature, trees, rivers, a mushroom, it is like deities and gods within themselves. And so like in colonial Philippines, we were all animists before a religion was prescribed to us. Circling back years and years before like this religion was handed to me, of probably returning to my factory setting of animism.
So you're saying now, passed down from generations in the Philippines, there's this religion, what they follow. Are you saying that because it's your ancestry, you follow it too? But have you done the research and have you got anything in that what you question?
I've done research, yeah. And I think, like, fundamentally, I just block everything else and check in with myself and ask myself, what do I believe in? What gives me faith? When I wake up every single day, like, who and what am I prescribing to? And is that my choice?
We've spoke about the spiritual. We spoke about Christians who are on the journey but might not know everything yet. And we've spoke about people who just don't know and are okay with that. If you've enjoyed this conversation, make sure you like and subscribe and join us next time. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to 48 TV.